I'm riding along the Muelle de Santa Catalina right now. For most people, this is just the cruise ship pier. Ships arrive, ships leave, tourists wander around. But this spot is actually the place where Las Palmas became what it is today. Back in the late 19th century, this was wild Atlantic frontier territory. Coal stations, steamships, sailors, merchants, noise, dust. It was chaotic, loud, dirty, and exactly this chaos transformed Las Palmas into a global port city. Today it looks clean and modern, but underneath the pavement, you're riding over a century of history and reinvention. Now I'm rolling into Calle Alfredo L. Jones. Sounds like just another random name until you know who he was. Sir Alfred L. Jones was a Welsh shipping magnate, a man who built trade routes across Africa and the Caribbean and needed reliable ports. He turned Las Palmas into one of his key hubs. He promoted the Canary Islands to British travelers, brought investors, built infrastructure, and kick-started the early tourism boom. That's why this street carries his name. A short stretch of road, but a huge part of Canarian history. And now the ride truly begins. I'm approaching the Paseo de Las Canteras, and every single time the beach suddenly appears in front of me, there's this magical shift in the atmosphere. You hear the ocean before you see it. Waves echo between the buildings. Voices blend with music from the cafes, and the air changes. Softer, warmer, alive. The moment I reach the Paseo, it feels like the city switches rhythm. Here the pace slows down. Here people breathe differently. Here the heartbeat of Las Palmas becomes visible. 3 kilometers of golden sand stretch out in front of me, protected by the famous natural reef, La Barra. Because of that reef, the water is sometimes as calm as a giant lagoon, and on other days the Atlantic roars with its full force. That contrast, that dual personality, is what gives Las Canteras its character. I keep riding, and everywhere I look, I see small stories unfolding. Surfers waiting for the perfect set. Elderly couples drinking their morning coffee like they've done for decades. Kids screaming as they run straight into the water. Joggers promising themselves that today they'll finally get back in shape. And those sunset hunters who show up every single evening, convinced that this is the one place in the world where the sun sets properly. And honestly, sometimes it really does feel like that. I need to hear some sounds that recognize the pain in me. I let the melody shine, let it cleanse my mind. I feel free now, but the airwaves are clean and there's no What most people don't know is how this whole promenade started. In 1920, there was one man, Antonio Marrero Perez, terrified that the ocean would swallow his house. So he built a wall, just a small protective wall, a few stones, nothing special. But that tiny wall became the seed of what would grow into one of the most iconic urban promenades on the planet. A whole city can walk by the sea today because one man didn't want seawater in his living room. As I continue along the Paseo, I pass sculptures everywhere. Each one is a tribute to musicians, poets, swimmers, fishermen, the souls that shaped this place. It's like an open-air museum, except it smells like salt water instead of old carpet. If you look closely, you can still feel the ghosts of the past. In the 1950s, scenes from Moby Dick were filmed right here along this coastline. Gregory Peck walked this sand while Hollywood tried to summon a whale. 3 kilometers of beach and centuries of stories hidden inside it. And then there are those evenings, when the sun drops low, when the rocks turn red, when the warm air feels like an embrace. That's when Las Canteras shows its real personality. Calm, proud, a little melancholic, like a city that has seen everything but still wakes up every day ready for a new chapter. And as I ride along this beach, I realize again that this isn't just a bike path, it's a time machine. I start at the industrial heart of the city, the port. Then I cross a street named after the man who connected these islands to the world. And finally I arrive at Las Canteras, the soul, the smile, the eternal stage of Las Palmas. Every time I take this route, it feels like I'm not just biking. I'm riding through stories. Las Canteras isn't just a place, it's a feeling, a piece of the Atlantic whispering, "You're exactly where you're meant to be." After leaving the Paseo de las Canteras behind, I keep riding deeper into the peninsula, where the city slowly fades and nature starts taking over again. My first stop is the Mirador Norte de las Coloradas, a quiet, almost forgotten viewpoint high above the coast. In earlier times, this hill was a strategic lookout, a place to watch the sea, guide fishermen, and keep an eye on approaching ships. Today, it's a peaceful balcony over the Atlantic, just wind, rocks, and endless open water. At sunset, the cliffs turn red, and the whole place feels like a secret spot reserved for photographers, locals, and anyone who loves dramatic views. A little further on, I reach El Zoco, a small market area that has existed for decades. Once an improvised gathering spot for traders, neighbors, and passing travelers, it's now a colorful mix of local goods, handmade crafts, fresh fruit, small snacks, and people who simply enjoy wandering around. Markets like this are the true heart of the island, a place where cultures, smells, voices, and stories all blend together. And then there's the Mirador de la Cruz, a viewpoint that feels like a pause between the sky and the ocean. For a long time, this hill served as an orientation point for old paths and walking routes. Later, it became a favorite stop for hikers and photographers. Standing up here, you see the whole coastline at once. El Confital, Las Canteras, and the Atlantic stretching endlessly into the west. It's calm and dramatic at the same time, as if the island is introducing itself in a single panoramic moment. And by the way, places like these often attract celebrities, influencers, and even film crews, quietly without much publicity. If you stand here long enough, chances are someone famous has already admired the exact same view, just with a slightly more aggressive Instagram filter.